On the 23rd of August, 2025, Dr. Ngozi Orabueze, Deputy Prime Minister of the United States of Biafra, dropped a political bombshell by announcing that Simon Ekpa was no longer Prime Minister. Why? Because of a video recorded inside a Finnish prison where Simon Ekpa, under immense pressure, agreed to step back from USB leadership in exchange for freedom.
Wonders, they say, shall never end, and the same wonders shall never cease to end. Hi, human being. That is, the heart of man is desperately wicked. That's what Bible said. That even God himself regretted creating man. Yes, in the book of Genesis chapter 6 verse 6. If you read it down, go down, you will understand. For those that believe in Bible, but whatever you believe, that is a business. I believe in Christ. I believe in Bible. Yes. Now, this update is about Ngozi Orabueze, Dr. Ngozi Orabueze. I've been talking about Ngozi Orabueze. Some people say you are Sabo. Some people say you are Sabongeri. Some people say you are Jambadi. Some people say this. I said that Ngozi Orabueze did not come for Biafra. Ngozi Orabueze abịara ịchọta Biafra. Ngozi Orabueze bịara ịchụ akpa ya. Yes, she came for her pocket. She did not come for Biafra. Restoration of Biafra is not her business. What is her business there? What will she gain if she get Biafra as a woman? Is she a Biafran? She can be a Biafran, but she will get married to another tribe. Or she may not be a Biafran, but she married to a Biafran. You know? So, Ngozi Orabueze abịara ịchụ Biafra. I've been saying it. Mana ndu Sabo, ndu Aboki, ndu Fulani Bie, na ndị na-anụ ya na ndị mụlụ ya abịapụta online ha na-akọ eli. Omego na anya gị na-abụ Ngozi Orabueze has finally dismissed court from the as a member of how Simon Ekpa outsmarted Ngozi is now sacking here. Simon Ekpa, you are hearing police, madam and the madam making it go. Simon Ekpa that brought her into the game. She is one now that sacking the comment Simon Ekpa while we are watching the video. And I want to remind you, in case you have not subscribed to my YouTube channel, the bone, TV, try to do so. So that if I drop video on that side, you are also because I dropped that is never you bite a finger here that fed you. Yes, because maybe you are now seeing yourself in another level. My dear, that finger can still feed you again. You may still need that finger, the help of that finger again. I've been saying it with time with that number, and I owe nobody apology. Yes. Mana I know maybe we can go much. Offer opportunity, mana anemia. Yes. And when you are bubble, offer opportunity to double on me, mana anemia. Yes. You see them? The Philistine, the Israelite, all of them so great as a warrior, as a dangerous person, as a mountain or as a tree standing before them. But David saw Goliath as opportunity. See, that is it. Let me know which time. I'll play the video. You hear it very, very well and see how everything happened. Now, as we are talking now, Simon Ekpa is no more member of USB. Some people say, he formed government in exile. You'll be a bookie. Everything started from USB. The main foundation is USB. Before Ngozi Orabueze even came into the game, let me know what's your time. Make this video go viral so that everybody will get the video. I want to show you how Ngozi Orabueze betrayed Simon Ekpa. Finally, and Ekpa as well. If you have not subscribed to my YouTube channel, try and do so that whenever I drop a video, you will get it. Watch.
Imagine waking up to the news that the very man millions saw as the voice of Biafra has just been dismissed by his own government in exile. On the 23rd of August, 2025, Dr. Ngozi Orabueze, Deputy Prime Minister of the United States of Biafra, dropped a political bombshell by announcing that Simon Ekpa was no longer Prime Minister. Why? Because of a video recorded inside a Finnish prison where Simon Ekpa, under immense pressure, agreed to step back from USB leadership in exchange for freedom. But here's the twist. Instead of fully denouncing Biafra, Simon rebranded himself as an activist for southeastern Nigeria. a move seen by some as survival, but by others as betrayal. That video, scheduled for release on August 30th, has already sparked an internal earthquake. USB leaders claim Simon's refusal to stand as their prime minister means his leadership is finished, while Simon himself insists he doesn't care about titles. The real fight, he says, is for Biafra's survival. Now, questions are rising fast. Was this a clever strategy to free him, or a trap that will shatter Biafran unity? Is Simon Ekpa still the people's leader, or has history repeated itself in yet another betrayal? This is where the battle for Biafra's future takes a dramatic new turn. On 23rd of August 2025, news broke that Dr. Ngozi Orabueze, Deputy Prime Minister of the United States of Biafra, USB, strategically made a move to dismiss Simon Ekpa as imagine waking up to the news that the very man millions saw as the voice of Biafra has just been dismissed by his own government in exile. On the 23rd of August 2025, Dr. Ngozi Orabueze, Deputy Prime Minister of the United States of Biafra, dropped a political bombshell by announcing that Simon Ekpa was no longer Prime Minister. Why? Because of imagine waking up to the news that the very man millions saw as the voice of Biafra has just been dismissed by his own government in exile. On the 23rd of August 2025, Dr. Ngozi Orabueze, Deputy Prime Minister of the United States of Biafra, dropped a political bombshell by announcing that Simon Ekpa was no longer Prime Minister. Why? Because of a video recorded inside a Finnish prison where Simon Ekpa, under immense pressure, agreed to step back from USB leadership in exchange for freedom. But here's the twist. Instead of fully denouncing Biafra, Simon rebranded himself as an activist for southeastern Nigeria, a move seen by some as survival, but by others as betrayal. That video, scheduled for release on August 30th, has already sparked an internal earthquake. USB leaders claim Simon's refusal to stand as their prime minister means his leadership is finished, while Simon himself insists he doesn't care about titles. The real fight, he says, is for Biafra's survival. Now, questions are rising fast. Was this a clever strategy to free him, or a trap that will shatter Biafran unity? Is Simon Ekpa still the people's leader, or has history repeated itself in yet another betrayal? This is where the battle for Biafra's future takes a dramatic new turn. On 23rd of August 2025, news broke that Dr. Ngozi Orabueze, Deputy Prime Minister of the United States of Biafra, USB, strategically made a move to dismiss Simon Ekpa as Prime Minister of the United States of Biafra, USB. The tension began after Simon Ekpa agreed to a deal for possible release from Kilmakoski prison, which required him to denounce his ties to the USB government in a Finnish media interview. Instead of fully denouncing, Simon Ekpa modified the deal, saying he would act as an ambassador and activist for southeastern Nigeria, but not as a USB representative. A video of Simon Ekpa's statement was recorded on the 22nd of August 2025, scheduled for release on 30th of August, but the USB cabinet viewed it as betrayal. Some USB leaders argued that Simon Ekpa's refusal to speak for the USB meant he could no longer remain Prime Minister, and warned he would be removed once the video aired. Simon Ekpa reportedly told allies he doesn't care about the PM position, as his ultimate goal is for Biafra to become reality. Meanwhile, Simon Ekpa and Dr. David Masanga are pursuing legal strategies, including petitions against a Finnish policeman and Nigerian Chief of Defense Staff, General Christopher Musa, though Finnish authorities warn such petitions could trigger drastic steps. USB insiders claim if Simon Ekpa proceeds with the EU petition, authorities might release the Finnish language video of his denouncement earlier than planned. The situation is described as a mind game between Simon Ekpa, the USB leadership, and Finnish authorities, with each side trying to outmaneuver the other. Despite the crisis, Dr. Ngozi Orabueze promoted USB jerseys and hinted in public posts that Biafra's restoration remains a promise, while urging genuine supporters to stay committed. The news that spread on the 23rd day of August in the year 2025 that Dr. Ngozi Orabueze, the Deputy Prime Minister of the United States of Biafra, had dismissed Simon Ekpa as Prime Minister came like a thunderclap across the Biafra movement. For many, it was not only shocking, but painful. It stirred memories of betrayal, division, and manipulation that the Igbo people and the Biafran struggle have endured for decades. To understand why this problem occurred, one must begin with the long and bitter history of persecution against the Igbo people in Nigeria, the struggle for recognition of Biafra, and the roles Seaman Ekpa and Nnamdi Kanu have played in keeping that dream alive. The problem began with the deal Simon Ekpa had to face while still in detention in Finland's Kilmakoski prison. For months, he had been locked up, facing heavy accusations that were politically motivated, charges that were being fanned not only by the Nigerian state, but also by international forces that seemed uncomfortable with the rising voice of the Biafran independence movement. Finland, under pressure, placed him in custody and tested his resilience. For any human being, long months in prison without freedom is a weight too heavy to carry. In the midst of this, a deal was placed before Simon Ekpa. The condition was simple, yet cruel. He was to denounce his ties to the United States of Biafra, to step away from the symbolic government that had given hope to millions of Biafrans in the diaspora and at home. Simon Ekpa, however, chose not to fully surrender. Instead, he modified the deal. He told the Finnish authorities that while he could no longer act as a representative of the USB government, he would remain an ambassador and activist for the southeastern people of Nigeria, which is the same as fighting for the Biafran cause in another form. A video statement was recorded on the 22nd of August, set for release on the 30th of August. In that statement, Seaman Ekpa tried to balance the heavy chains placed on him. But when this video was reviewed internally, leaders within the USB government felt it was betrayal. They believed that if Simon Ekpa no longer claimed the title of Prime Minister of USB, then his leadership had been compromised. The provocation of this entire episode lies in the deep tension between survival and principle. On one hand, Simon Ekpa was fighting for his life and freedom in a foreign prison, battling an international system that clearly wanted him silenced. On the other hand, the USB government wanted loyalty to its symbols and authority. This tension sparked the crisis. Dr. Ngozi Orabueze, seizing the moment, declared Seaman Ekpa dismissed as Prime Minister of USB, claiming it was in the best interest of the struggle. But for the ordinary Biafran in the streets of Aba, Onitsha, or Enugu, this sounded like yet another story of betrayal. The Biafran struggle has been marked by betrayals from the days of General Emeka Odumegwu Ojukwu after the Civil War to the consistent sellouts of politicians who prioritize personal gain over the collective dream. The consequences of this dismissal are many. First, it threatens unity among Biafran supporters. Unity has always been the weak point of the struggle. Whenever the Nigerian state launches attacks, arrests activists, or sponsors infiltration, the cracks within the Biafran leadership widen. Now, with Seaman Ekpa dismissed, there is a risk of supporters splitting into camps, one loyal to Simon and another aligning with Ngozi Orabueze. Second, the decision sends a dangerous signal to the Finnish authorities. If the USB government itself is casting doubt on Simon Ekpa, then it strengthens the hand of those who want him permanently silenced. Third, it leaves ordinary Biafrans confused. For people who have endured decades of killings, massacre, and marginalization, the hope of unity among their leaders is the last thread they hold on to. Any sign of division feels like betrayal by the very people who are supposed to protect them. When viewed through the lens of history, what is happening now is not new. The Igbo people have suffered betrayals for generations. In 1966, after the first coup led mostly by Igbo officers, the Nigerian military and political elite turned against the Igbo population, unleashing pogroms in the north, where tens of thousands of Igbo men, women, and children were slaughtered. Pregnant women were cut open, children were butchered, and men were executed in marketplaces. This history of bloodshed pushed Colonel Odumegwu Ojukwu to declare the Republic of Biafra in 1967. That war, which lasted until 1970, cost the lives of more than 3 million Biafrans, most of them children who starved to death due to the Nigerian blockade. Since then, Nigeria has never stopped persecuting the Igbo. In the present day, Nigerian security forces, particularly under the leadership of people like General Christopher Musa, have continued the same atrocities in a different form. Killings in Orlu, Imo State, the massacre in Obigbo, Rivers State, and constant military raids in Anambra and Ebonyi have left countless bodies behind. Each time, the Nigerian government covers up the deaths, brands the victims as unknown gunmen, and justifies its brutality as law enforcement. Simon Ekpa and Nnamdi Kanu have been the loudest voices calling this out, mobilizing the diaspora and petitioning international organizations to intervene. For this, both of them have paid a heavy price. Nnamdi Kanu has been unlawfully detained in Nigeria after being kidnapped in Kenya and renditioned, while Simon Ekpa has been held in Finland under suspicious charges. The dismissal of Simon Ekpa as Prime Minister of USB, therefore, is not simply a matter of politics. It is part of the larger struggle of a people who are fighting for survival. The Nigerian state has one clear strategy: to divide the Biafran movement. By infiltrating, bribing, or pressuring leaders, they create division and weaken the resolve of the people. This same playbook has been used against other independence movements across Africa. Dr. Ngozi Orabueze's decision, whether intentional or manipulated, plays into this hand. While she argues it is strategic and aligns with Dr. David Masanga's legal advice to protect Simon Ekpa's freedom, many ordinary supporters see it as bowing to foreign pressure. But the truth is that Simon Ekpa himself has said he does not care about losing the position of Prime Minister. For him, the position is not the goal. The goal is Biafra itself, the restoration of dignity for a people who have been robbed of everything. This is what gives him moral superiority. Even in prison, he has continued to file petitions, including against a Finnish policeman and against General Christopher Musa. These petitions are weapons in a legal and diplomatic battlefield where Simon Ekpa is trying to turn international law against those who oppress Biafrans. Yet, Finnish authorities have warned that such petitions could bring drastic steps. The threat is clear: stop speaking or face harsher punishment. The entire situation is like a mind game. On one side, the Finnish authorities want to force Simon Ekpa into silence. On another side, the USB leadership is struggling to maintain its symbolic authority. And at the center stands Simon Ekpa, determined to survive, determined to speak, and determined not to betray the dream of Biafra. For the ordinary people in Aba or Enugu who wear USB jerseys, who march in rallies, and who chant the names of Simon Ekpa and Nnamdi Kanu, the message is simple: the struggle must continue. Possible solutions exist, but they are not near. One solution is for Biafran leaders to place unity above personal ambition. If Simon Ekpa, Ngozi Orabueze, and David Masanga can sit together and agree on a common path, then the movement would be stronger. Another solution is international intervention. If organizations like the European Union, the United Nations, or even countries like the United States and South Korea step in to recognize the rights of the Biafran people, then Nigeria would no longer be able to kill with impunity. But history shows that such intervention is slow and often compromised by global politics. For now, the movement must survive by resilience. Just as the Igbo people survived the starvation of the Civil War, just as they rebuilt their cities after every massacre, they will survive this political crisis. Simon Ekpa's dismissal may appear like a setback, but history teaches us that sometimes the removal of a leader becomes the spark for greater unity. The Igbo saying goes that when the forest burns, it clears the way for new trees to grow. When people heard that Simon Ekpa had been dismissed by Dr. Ngozi Orabueze, many could not help but feel that history was repeating itself. The Igbo people have always faced betrayal at the hands of their own leaders or those who claimed to represent them. The Civil War of 1967 to 1970, which remains one of the darkest periods in African history, showed how easily international pressure and internal division could shatter a people's dream. More than 3 million Biafrans were killed through bombings, starvation, and massacres. Yet after the war, no justice was served. The Nigerian government simply declared a hollow policy of no victor, no vanquished, while secretly punishing Igbo people with economic strangulation, seizure of their wealth, and deliberate marginalization. That same spirit of injustice is still alive today, since Nnamdi Kanu reignited the Biafran independence movement However, the Nigerian government has responded with the same brutality that defined the late 1960s. People have been shot during peaceful rallies. Communities like Obigbo in Rivers State and Olu in Imo State have been reduced to graveyards by Nigerian soldiers. Families mourn sons who never return from protests. Mothers cry in the streets, searching for children taken by the army in midnight raids. These are not stories from the past. They are the lived reality of Biafrans today. Simon Ekpa rose to prominence because he dared to continue the work that Nnamdi Kanu began after Nnamdi Kanu was abducted from Kenya and illegally rendered to Nigeria in 2021. Where many others would have gone silent out of fear, Simon Ekpa raised his voice louder. He organized sit-at-home protests that shook Nigeria's economy and drew international attention. He exposed killings carried out by the Nigerian military. He gave the diaspora a voice and reminded ordinary Biafrans that their struggle had not died with the silence of global powers. To millions, Simon Ekpa became a symbol of defiance. This is why his imprisonment in Finland was a devastating blow to the movement. To the Biafran people, it was clear that Nigeria had extended its reach into Europe. They saw his arrest as a conspiracy between the Nigerian government, international allies, and certain Finnish authorities who wanted him silenced. Yet Simon Ekpa refused to surrender. Even behind prison walls, he spoke through letters, through his legal team, and through supporters who amplified his voice. It is in this context that the deal offered to him, renounce USB leadership in exchange for freedom, must be understood. It was not simply a legal compromise, it was a deliberate attempt to break his spirit. But Simon Ekpa's response showed both wisdom and defiance. He did not fully abandon Biafra. He said he would step down as an official representative of USB, but remain an activist for his people. This was a careful balance. It was his way of staying alive without betraying the dream. To the ordinary Igbo man in Aba selling spare parts, or the woman in Onitsha running a market stall, this was not betrayal. It was survival. They understood that in the face of overwhelming force, sometimes you bend so you are not broken. Unfortunately, the USB cabinet did not see it that way. Some of them accused Simon of betrayal. They argued that by refusing to explicitly defend USB in his recorded video, he had effectively surrendered. They warned that once the video was aired publicly, it would be impossible for him to continue as Prime Minister.
Now, this is the latest news. What is your say over this? What is your contribution? What is your input? Yes. Do you think that Simon Ekpa outsmarted them, or do you think they are the one that outsmarted Simon Ekpa? Yes, you listen to the news very, very well. Drop your comment on the comment section. I say one and only Onyami Jesus and Bollywood actor and the top content creator. Yes, share this video and subscribe to my YouTube channel. Have a nice day. Let us meet at the comment section. Bye.
Nigerian authorities have long relied on infiltration and internal division to weaken the movement. By removing Simon Ekpa in such a controversial manner, the USB leadership risks alienating the very supporters whose passion has kept the dream alive. There is now a clear risk that Simon's loyalists will reject the USB entirely, creating parallel movements that weaken the collective voice of Biafrans worldwide. It also creates confusion at a time when clarity is most needed. The Biafran people are facing daily persecution. In places like Ebonyi and Anambra, soldiers patrol with brutality, extorting and humiliating civilians. In Imo, Governor Hope Uzodima's alignment with federal forces has created a climate of fear where vigilantes and state-backed militias terrorize villages. Each time blood is spilled, Biafrans look to their leaders for direction. What message will they see now? Will they see leaders who stand united in the face of oppression, or leaders who fight each other while their people bleed? Simon Ekpa's own words in private conversations revealed his priorities. He reportedly told allies that he did not care about losing the position of Prime Minister. For him, the title is not the mission. The mission is Biafra itself. This is what separates him from many others. He has consistently shown that his commitment is to the ordinary Biafran, not to positions or titles. Even while in prison, he filed petitions against individuals like General Christopher Musa, exposing the crimes of Nigerian security forces. He also filed complaints against certain Finnish officers, refusing to be intimidated into silence. These are not the actions of a man seeking power for himself. They are the actions of someone who knows that history will one day judge him by whether he spoke up when his people were dying. The tension now is between two strategies. On one hand, Dr. Ngozi Orabueze and Dr. David Masanga believe that distancing Seaman Ekpa from USB could be a clever tactic to secure his freedom. On the other hand, millions of supporters believe that such distancing plays into the hands of Nigeria and its international allies who want the Biafran movement delegitimized. This is the game being played. Finland threatens to release Simon's recorded video early if he continues with his petitions, while the USB threatens to expel him if he does not remain loyal. And yet, in the middle of this storm, Simon remains determined not to betray the essence of the struggle. This moment calls to mind the sacrifices of Nnamdi Kanu. For years, he warned that the Nigerian state would stop at nothing to crush Biafra. He repeatedly pointed out that the international community often turns a blind eye to genocide when it suits their political or economic interests. When Nnamdi Kanu was kidnapped in Kenya and brought back to Nigeria, the world looked away. No Western government imposed sanctions. No European Parliament convened emergency debates. Instead, Biafrans were left alone to fight for their leader's release. Now, the same silence surrounds Seaman Ekpa's imprisonment. This silence is why Biafrans must remain united. The possible solutions to this crisis begin with unity. Simon Ekpa, Ngozi Orabueze, and David Masanga must remember that the Nigerian state is the true enemy, not each other. History will not forgive them if personal disagreements destroy the collective struggle. Another solution is international advocacy. The Biafran diaspora must intensify campaigns across Europe and America, reminding the world that the Igbo people are facing modern genocide.